just because we have a jam-packed meeting of a lot of content to go over today. So I wanted to start by thanking everyone for taking the time to join us for today's educational webinar. We're putting on a series of webinars for our clients, and today we're covering data protection, why it's so important to your business. So I encourage everyone to ask questions. Please don't stop with any questions. If you can contact me after if you have any other specific questions, but we'll save all the questions to the end, and then we'll open it up for chat and discussion for the experts that are on the line. I just wanted to go through a quick introduction on who will be presenting today. So I'll start off with myself. Ryan Ems, Director of Business Development at Consus Group. I work very closely with Alex Pirani, the CEO and President. Very fortunate to work alongside somebody of his talent. He has developed an incredible team over the past 18 years of some very talented people in the industry. And we'll talk a lot about how we have become a differentiator in the marketplace, especially as it relates to the small business market. And I'm very fortunate to partner here today with Fortinet. So thank you, Fortinet, for partnering with us today. We have their senior sales engineer on the line, as well as our account manager, Kareem Tucker. So Ben Edgar, he'll be touching a lot on the solutions that are able to support SMBs. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. Here's a little bit of background about us. So we've been servicing Southwestern Ontario for 18 years. Our team has 200 years of combined industry experience, supporting over 300 clients and 2,500 end users. We offer managed security and support services for SMBs. We have an exceptionally talented team, and we truly take pride in understanding businesses and protecting their most valuable assets. And I think we'll touch a lot about that today. We really become a true extension of people's businesses, and that's really what differentiates us in the marketplace. All of this has developed our commitment to small business, which gives our businesses the sense of security, trust, and confidence. We talk a lot about security and how many layers of protection, and we'll talk a lot about that today, and it's will lead us into future webinars down the road. So with that, I'll pass it over to Alex Pirani to take us through the next few slides, okay?
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for joining us today. I'm glad you could make it. I know your time is important, so I'm going to get right into it. We're here basically to talk about small business and data protection. And data protection really has a whole lot of layers. So I'm going to start going into a little bit of the background. We found that small business in general is extremely underserved. A survey was done on 1,000 businesses, and some of the key findings here is 62% of those businesses surveyed lacked skills in-house to deal with security issues. That essentially means they don't have the knowledge or the tools or the capability. Another 13% felt confident that they could actually deal with and defend against an attack. So it's extremely low out of 1,000 businesses. 52% felt helpless to defend themselves from new forms of cyber attacks. And then lastly, interestingly enough, 89% of the 1,000 businesses see cybersecurity as a top priority in their organization going forward. And I think that's really, really true today. 75% agree there should be more emphasis placed on security. And lastly, 79% of those 1,000 businesses are planning to invest more in cybersecurity in the next 12 months. This is really, really important because I'm going to go to the next slide. And I'm going to basically explain why some of the inadequacies in protection for a small business. Typically, small business security solutions are lacking, and they're lacking knowledge, expertise. They're lacking incident response. In the case of a cyber attack or an event or ransomware, along those things, what do they do? And they typically lack that knowledge and understanding of how to deal with it, especially in a timely manner. And cyber insurance is something we're going to be touching on in the near future. A lot of companies are lacking the knowledge, understanding, and even the right kinds of cyber insurance to protect their business. A lot of people aren't understanding what's in these policies and some of the critical pieces that our small business clients sign off. Some of them, they don't, a lot of the small businesses we see don't have some of the protection required to make a claim properly. Document management is a huge issue. Password protection. A lot of people just save their passwords in their browsers, or they use simple passwords. Endpoint protection means antivirus or lacking effective antivirus. A lot of customers think that a free antivirus solution is going to protect them, and that's going to cut it, and end of story. But that's absolutely not the case. A big one we're finding is actually security awareness and training. It's hugely lacking in small business world. Actually, it's lacking in medium to enterprise as well, but it's just more apparent because small business owners lack time. They don't have enough time to learn or train their staff about security, awareness, education, and things that could ultimately help protect their business against some of these attacks. A lot of it could be mitigated just through some awareness. Network protection, and lastly, shockingly, email security is one of the things on the list. Ultimately, impacts of cyber attacks can be extreme. Number one is typically cost. It's extremely expensive to deal with a cyber attack, remediation, a company, and then also getting your data back can be difficult, especially if it is ransomed. You will be paying in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is extremely difficult to get. I don't think people really realize how hard it is for somebody to wrangle up one Bitcoin, or let's say $7,000 of equivalent Bitcoin. So we're going to do a webinar a little bit on the effects of ransomware and what people typically will go through to bring some awareness to how important it is to put the right pieces in place to protect your small business or practice against ransomware. A huge thing is cost in time, dealing with downtime, dealing with vendors, and that follows up with data loss. So we're going to be talking a little bit about how to prevent data loss and how to protect your data. But it is one of the impacts of a cyber attack. Needing to change your MSP. What that means is that if you have kind of a lower end expert trying to help you and you're breached, you may lose confidence in that provider. And now you have the whole headache of going out and finding a new managed service provider. That can be daunting in itself. We understand, and we try to make it an easy onboarding process for our clients. However, we do realize it's time and effort. A lot of things, loss of confidence in existing solutions. For example, when people find out that using free antivirus and they get horribly ransomwared, and then they wonder why, they didn't have any protection or their antivirus didn't catch it. It's because a single solution or a few solutions really doesn't cut it. You have to have an entire layered network of defense. Loss of customers. You could lose customers due to losing their data, having their data breached, which will lead to damage to company reputation. You could potentially be dealing with compliance auditors, especially prevalent in healthcare. I don't think people take the full value seriously. Even if you are, for example, a dental office in COVID and you've closed your doors, you are still have to be compliant with your data, and you can't just leave it alone or discontinue or anything. You have to maintain and protect that information because it is patient information, and there are privacy laws and there are compliances around those things. Negative bad press, and employees potentially can lose their jobs is another way. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, and we're going to talk about ways to protect your network and your data. And as you can see, it is a layered approach. Down in the very middle, you can see your data. From there, you have applications, you have your servers, you have your network, you have your external perimeter. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that. That's kind of your internal security components protecting you from outside. Then you actually have your physical components, your computers, your servers. That's what we call the physical layer. And lastly, surrounding everything is procedures, policies, and awareness. So diving into a strong cyber data protection plan should really include the following. You should at least have an annual security assessment just to determine, has anything changed? Are things changing in your business? Are you expanding? Are you moving to different areas? You know, what's going on? And oftentimes that's forgotten. And so a good security assessment once a year can really help. Security awareness, I touched on that a little bit. Training your users, teaching them about data security. That's something Consensus Group will be able to help with going forward. We're putting a lot of effort into creating awareness and education platforms for small business clients. We realize they're busy. However, this is definitely something worthwhile researching, investigating, and spending some time and effort on. Advanced endpoint detection and response. There's your free antivirus. Then there's your standard antivirus for home users. And then you have enterprise antivirus. And then there's something, basically a next level of antivirus after that as well that's coming to market. And it's typically artificially intelligently driven. Computer updates, patch management, keeping your operating systems, whether it's iOS, whether it's Windows platform, keeping your Chrome browser or your Explorer, any of those things, they all need patches. Not only does software need patches, hardware needs patches as well. They're typically called firmware updates, and they're basically, for example, your car, if you have kind of a more advanced car, you'll see that all these different features and all these cool things in your car are run by software, and they get patched just the same. It's really important. Most people disregard updates. They're very important. They block vulnerabilities, security issues, and things like that. Backups are critical. We can't, promote backups enough. Local, offsite backups, encrypted backups, monitored backups, kept in Canada. There's just so many things around backups that are important. That's something we'll get into in another day. If anybody has any questions about backup solutions, disaster recovery plans, we're happy to answer those questions. Encryption. So this one's coming up quite a bit. Do I need to encrypt my files? And as we work offsite more and more, encryption is definitely going to matter. If a laptop is stolen or lost, you're going to depend upon encryption. If somebody opens up that laptop, you must have your information encrypted or it's vulnerable to be stolen. Moving on to the next slide, I have a couple additional items here. Anti-spam and antivirus in your email platform is absolutely critical these days. If you can prevent an attack from coming at your office before it even shows up at your office, it's preventative. It's one of the best things you can do. Complicated passwords and also password managers are really important. Web gateway security, we're going to be touching on web gateway security and firewall shortly with Fortinet. Multi-factor authentication, really critical. If you can get away with multi-factor authentication on anything today, I strongly recommend you enable it. I know it can be, security can sometimes be an inconvenience. However, it's absolutely mandatory in today's environment. That is absolutely how most problems can be solved, is through multi-factor or two-factor authentication. Lastly, we're finding dark web is becoming critical to today's small business, as we're finding, we ran a recent client, a dark web search, and found 180 breaches across 80 employees. And some of them were things like Dropbox. So it's really critical to start to identify when information is breached, to be notified in almost a real-time manner that my information has appeared somewhere, my password has been posted to the dark web or the deep web, and it's basically available for sale. Moving on to the next slide here, we do offer layered managed security and support packages for our business clients. We call it Business Shield, and we incorporate everything that we talked about. On the dental side, it's called Dental Shield, and we incorporate a host of everything we just talked about there as well. It's just a little more customized, as the dental space is a little more complicated with third party and some of their software. Moving on to the next slide, why does this matter to you? And ultimately, all I can say is no business is too small to evade a cyber attack or data breach. It happens to so many small businesses. We've seen it, we've rescued businesses, we know what's going on in the background, and we're trying to bring awareness and education to these small businesses that are just purely thinking about cost. It is almost a utility today that you have to have protections in place, and most small businesses are lacking the tools, and that's where we would like to help. That's where we can help, and we offer a variety of services to get us there. One of the kind of recapping top 10 ways a small business can protect their data is through layered security. I can't emphasize that enough. You must layer your security. You have to have a really robust multi-layer. And one of the things we're talking about, one of my favorites, is investing in a gateway security device, which Fortinet is going to be talking about shortly. This slide will be available afterwards, or if anybody has any questions, we're happy to go over all of this for you. I'm going to move on to the next slide. So I always have a problem. I had to create a simplified network design to kind of emphasize how we protect a small business. So I created a diagram, and I know it still looks complicated, but this is honestly a simplified version. You have your server in the middle, and then you have your workstations at the bottom. Sometimes you have laptops, mobile phones, and then you also have something called a guest network. And if you don't have a guest network, you probably need one. That is usually for devices that aren't protected by your organization. They could typically be a vendor, third-party contractor that comes into your environment and brings their own device. So bring your own laptop, bring your own phone. I'm going to use your internet, your network. Those things have to be protected too. And what you can see is right in the middle, I have a unified threat management system. This is called a FortiGate. And it's something that we implement, and it's really important for us to kind of explain what this is to our clients and how important it is to have one these days. It is kind of the blanket protection for your office, and I'm just going to run over the details. My favorite things in the next slide are what is, if you can go to the next slide for me, what is a NextGen firewall? And a NextGen firewall is a security device. It's essentially a bouncer at your door. And the door to the internet is really where it goes to. Our favorite features for a small business is a robust firewall. I'm not talking a basic Cisco entry-level off-the-shelf router. I'm talking about a really advanced next-generation smart firewall. Blanket antivirus and anti-malware protection. So if I bring my own device, for example, a patient or a customer or a client comes into my office and says, hey, can I go on your internet? You need to make sure that you're also protecting yourself against their devices. And in essence, if they went to something on their device, they would also be protecting themselves. So you're giving them antivirus no matter what you put on your network. These are extremely smart. They're artificially intelligent. They use a backend, which I'm going to let Ben talk more about that. Content filtering, web reports. You can do so much. You can see where people are. You can say, I don't want to have my staff or guests being able to see casinos, porn, nudity, whatever that is. You can block all of that at the source. You can also have secure remote access. That's one of my favorites. You can create a secure tunnel using a next-gen firewall and have confident, secure access into your network. Intrusion detection, prevention, that's essentially breaching. So if somebody's breaching, has somebody intruded into my network, can I detect it, and how do I stop it? Also, next-gen firewalls meet a lot of compliancy requirements. They're extremely resilient, they block a lot of things, and in my opinion, they're absolutely mandatory to have in a small business. Last thing they do is they bring a certain level of peace of mind that you have this additional layer of protection on top of everything else that you have. You can have antivirus on your workstation. You can have, Bitdefender. You can have Symantec. You can have any of those things. You can even have free antivirus on your workstations. However, a next-gen firewall or unified threat management system will augment that with a hardware version that's extremely smart. Going to move on to the next slide here. I'm very, very proud that we partner with Fortinet, and I really, really want to thank Ben for your time for being here. And I'm going to pass it over to Ben, and he's going to give you a little bit of in-depth look at NextGen Firewall and the Fortinet products that we use.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so growing your small medium business practice. Let's go into the next slide. Let's jump ahead right away. So small medium businesses, I'll give you a little background of myself. So I do work for Fortinet. I've been working for Fortinet for a while. Prior to that, I was doing assessments for large corporation banks, assessing security requirements, compliance on a large mass scale, doing security audits and that side. Plus, I've also worked at a company that marketed exactly to the small medium business as a vCISO. So I have a lot of experience with the largest of organizations and compliance around that, and small organizations and the small organizational needs. The reason why I came to Fortinet in the first place was I was seeing that a lot of the solutions out there in the market today were geared towards enterprise. It was always large budget organizations that have like $4 million+ to spend on a complete solution. But for the small, medium business, that's just not possible. That's not affordable. It can't be attained for the small, medium business. But Fortinet provides these solutions. And I'll go into some of those solutions later on. So what I was seeing is these large organizations with millions of dollars of protections in place, that's really hard for hackers to get into. So for a hacker to get into a small, medium business, that's the low-hanging fruit for them. That's the easy path to get into an organization, is going against the small, medium business that doesn't have all these protections. So that's where Fortinet comes in, trying to drive these protections to the small, medium business market. Yeah, perfect. So we're seeing that, as I was saying, existing tools are not solving the problem. So what was out there and what is affordable to the small, medium business, it was just out of range, out of touch for your sort of size organization. So we saw that 61% report that web-based threats blocked by the security infrastructure are staying the same or getting worse. 53% of reported that ransomware blocked by their security infrastructure is staying the same or getting worse. 51% report the percentage of malware blocked by their security infrastructure is the same or getting worse. So these protections that were yesteryear protections are no longer valid for the type of threats that are out in the market today, or not in the market, but out in the wild today. So you need that next generation solution to be able to protect against these new threats that are coming out. And they're coming out a lot. There's more and more threats coming every single day. So what we've seen in the marketplace for the small, medium business is, and what's really important to be able to provide services is, it needs to be a solution that's easy to use, cost effective, great security practices, needs to be a complete solution. So not just a firewall at the edge. It's not just something on the inside. It's not just an antivirus. It's a complete solution that can work together and talk to each other. And then, of course, brand reputation, a solution that is recognized by not just my word, but by the word of third parties such as Gartner, such as NSS. And we'll go into that in a bit. So the Fortinet solution is, we have a lot of different products, but the main point of this solution, or the main feature, is the fact that all our products talk to each other. Before, in those large organizations, those banks, they had whole departments to be able to create automation and be able to integrate these products together, and thousands upon thousands of staff to be able to set up these custom integration points. Our solution comes out of the box with those integration points available. And it's just a matter of putting in the pointing, directing, and authorizing. So a 2-click step, and all of a sudden, these products are speaking to each other. And when it can speak, it means you have greater visibility across the organization from a security perspective and from a networking perspective. but also allows you to go to the next step. And this has never been attainable by a small, medium business, and that's automation, being to automate and automatically resolve issues. As soon as they come in, as soon as the system through AI, through the automatic learning paths, detects a problem, it resolves it. So that's the main point with our security fabric, is tying everything together. From a customer perspective, that means it's easy to use. It's a complete protection, a complete solution. From the partner perspective, it means, and from the customer perspective as well, is you don't need to manage all these other products and have different windows and consoles to manage everything, and everything not being able to communicate. You can go to one screen and see a lot of these products automatically. And then also on the small, medium business is with Fortinet, we have a lot of different consumption models. We have, our products can go from small, medium business to the largest of enterprise. And we have solutions all the way from the smallest to the largest solutions. So we have solutions that can meet your requirements. All right, next slide. Perfect. So in some of these solutions, in our firewall, so some of the other vendors out there, they like to add on and charge additional services, which drives more cost to you. With our solution, our security, like our firewall side, our VPN, whether it's site-to-site, SSL, IPsec, remote access, SD-WAN, it's all part of the solution. And as soon as you buy one of our products, our hardware firewall or software firewall, you get it included in it with no additional cost. SD-WAN has been a big thing to drive down costs. And that's an intelligent solution that can steer bandwidth to reduce the need for dedicated MPLS links, which are becoming more and more expensive, and driving that, that traffic throughput through cheaper internet links, but still maintaining quality. So being able to still have your voice video applications go over that and be able to automatically detect that, oh, this link is having some network issues, it's slow, it's going over maxed, let's automatically switch over to another link and that has better performance. So your voice quality still is retained, yet through a cheaper mechanism. So reducing cost to the small, medium business. And I was saying, SD-WAN is a feature. It is part of the solution. Every single one of our boxes, from our lowest 30E, which can meet the requirements of 5 users, to our largest chassis, which can meet the requirements of our 100,000 plus users. It's just part of the box. It's just part of every single one of our firewalls, and it's just included. So you automatically get the ability to have application awareness, multi-path intelligence, multi-broadband, so different types of connectivities, and be able to route between all of those. And with that, that drives simplified monitoring and segmentation for your users. And overall, it's all built around our best-in-class, industry-best UTM firewall. This is our FortiGate product here. This is one of the smaller ones. We have a little bit smaller, and then we have boxes that scale up larger from this. Every single one includes security, and that's a full UTM plus security product suite inside of it. Our products are perform really well from performance perspective, and I'll get into some of that performance perspective in later slides. In our fabric integration. So this is a big piece. Inside our firewalls, we have a wireless controller and switching controller built into it, no extra cost. You just have to buy the access points or buy this separate switch, and you can control that and manage it directly from the firewall interface, making it easier to manage all those products. So now you don't have to log into your switch console. You don't have to log into your access point console. You don't have to log into the firewall console. You just log into the firewall and manage all that. Plus the fact that it's integrated, it also drives that security posture right down to the port or to the SSID. So you're driving that security posture from not just the edge, but down to the port, that physical network interface port on the switch, which is increasing that security posture throughout the organization. And of course, because it's all one single pane of glass, it's easy to use and set up. With that, we have a lot of different bundles of service packages that you can purchase. But the main point of this slide is I want to just talk about what is provided and what these FortiGate firewalls can do. So inside here, we have, this is our full enterprise package. This is probably the most common one that we sell. Is our UTM. And then we have smaller bundles that have some of the key features. But in the UTM protection, any UTM device needs to be able to have some sort of application control, anti-spam, IPS, advanced malware protection, so that's the antivirus side of things, and web filtering to protect against going out to those malicious websites. You might get an email that has a URL in it saying, hey, go to this website. And actually that website that you're going to has malware on it and being injected into your site, into your computer. This can protect against it. Or if somehow malware was able to get onto your system, with web filtering, you can block the central command and control for a botnet, for ransomware. You can block that so that that central command and control with the botnet, you won't be able to reach. So it can't turn on that botnet on your network. It can't turn on that ransomware on your network. These are some of the features in it. Also included in this bundle, which is not mentioned here, actually mentioned down here, is FortiSandbox. So whenever you buy one of these bundles, you get FortiSandbox Cloud. Sandboxing is protecting against beyond what normal malware can do. Malware protections are signatures based. There are protections that are about known viruses out in the wild. Someone has seen this virus before and then has created a signature to say, hey, this signature is what this malware is. If we see something like this, protect against it. Sandboxing goes beyond that because there's a lot out in the wild that nobody's seen before. They're constantly changing. They're morphing as time goes on. The sandboxing allows it to open up into a separate environment, that attachment, that malware, to open up and see what it does. And if it is determined that there is a problem, it is malware, is sending you to a bad link or something, it will stop it. So it's protecting against known vulnerabilities and known malware, but also unknown on the sandbox. And that's included. Also on top of that, with all our packages, you get a minimum of 7 days of log retention. So on our systems for every single one. Let's skip ahead now, perfect. So as I was saying, it's not about me saying we're the best, it's about third parties saying we're the best. And Fortinet is recognized in the 10th time in a row. It's been in the top leaders quadrant of Gartner. Gartner is one way of verifying that we are a good product, but another one is NSS Labs, which is coming up. With NSS Labs, they don't just take the word of people and is looking at the specs of our box. NSS Labs actually tests our equipment. We send them our boxes. We send them our firewalls. We send them our web application firewall. We send them our FortiMail product. We send them all these different boxes. And they actually send packets through and test and verify that what we say we can do, they can do. That they perform the security function, not, oh, we have antivirus, but we actually perform antivirus function extremely well with like 99% catch rates. They also check to see, how we perform. So can we do decryption of packets? Can we do these things without clogging the box and making the box, basically making that box unavailable for other resources? We can perform, and our boxes perform extremely well. And we've had 9 NSS Labs recommendations. We're the only vendor out there that have had all 9 NSS Labs recommendations in all their categories. We have the largest footprint. So out there in the market, there's other vendors. We actually sell more firewalls than some of the other vendors out there. Cisco, Palo Alto, Checkpoint combined. So we have a large footprint and sensors and feedback from all these different customers that we have. Plus on top of that, the intelligence and threat feeds from other vendors as well, because we take in information from Microsoft. We take information from the US government around threats and that side of things. We feed it all in to our AI-driven security, which is what we call FortiGuard. We drive that into our FortiGuard labs, and through AI, we train it and we create models to additionally protect your systems. And that's included in those subscription bundles. Another big thing is, especially with the small, medium business, is being able to have customizable reports and dashboards so that you can see what has happened over time. And the key thing with firewalls in any box is being able to have a central spot to put your logging, central spot to view what's happening in your environment. And that's where our FortiGate Cloud comes in, or FortiGate Cloud, FortiAnalyzer Cloud, FortiManager Cloud. We have a lot of different options around that. To be able to build these reports and create these analytics and functions so that you can see what is happening, what sort of threats are out there, what's happening in your environment currently, what are your top websites that you've went to, what sort of proxies that have been going on. Before you were talking about Dropbox and data loss through that. Well, you'll be able to see in this threat reports that you're using Dropbox as a spot to store stuff. Maybe you, as an organization, you don't want that, but some of your users are using that. You'll be able to get a report around that. Another big thing is going back to the compliance requirements in the dental, a bunch of different industries have compliance requirements. To be able to log to a central spot and then pull reports saying, hey, this is what we've seen, this is what we've done, we have these features on, we are meeting these compliance requirements. That can be done through these reports.
And fun fact, Constance Group does that for all of our clients on your behalf. All the analytics are managed through a console, through our main dashboards, just so they have an idea.
Okay, perfect. Included in everything, any of our products, is we have 7 days of reporting ability just directly through buying any of our products and any of our firewall products. But we also have additional SKUs to be able to send logs centrally for up to a year. But as you were just mentioning, you always send your logs to your engine anyways. So that is part of the solution. Okay, next slide. So yeah, that's basically sums up what Fortinet can do. We have a lot of different products, a lot of different features. We're always available for conversations and yeah, being available to talk to you as well. So anytime you want, just reach out to Alex and we can have a conversation, further dive into this, provide further demos so you can see it. We can provide evaluations. We actually have different free assessments as well. We have our CTAP, which is our cyber threat analysis. We have a package around that, which is a free assessment for, and we have a couple flavors. One flavor is for next generation firewalls, to be able to see, is your current product being able to protect your environment? or we have a mail one as well to see if your mail product is providing the protections that you think it's doing, or if there's some enhancements or some threats getting through. And we can provide these assessments free of charge.
That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, that was very informative. I know for people that aren't as technical, it is a lot of information. So hopefully, if there's any other questions,
sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's really great to understand how in one solution can really protect in so many different levels, and I think that's kind of what we're trying to get across today. So thank you, Ben. That was amazing. I think what's at the end of this, we do offer security assessments, and Ben touched on a little bit of that too. We, as another extension, because of our partnership with Forti, they'll be able to do any demos or anything like that, or answer any specific questions, again, free of charge or anything. We also do a full comprehensive security assessment. And I wanted to highlight this slide here because when someone says a security assessment, they're like, well, I don't really know what that entails. This is kind of gives you an idea of the lengths and the depth of how we go into an assessment for our clients as far as backups, hardware, IT assessments, your assets. Do you have cyber awareness training, education? Has your email? What is your current workflow? How can your IT improve your overall workflow? So I think that's really some of the benefits that you're getting from a full IT assessment. So I will open it up here for questions that the panel can all ask. I have one in here right now. How would you rank Forti against Cisco Meraki device?
I can take that one because we used to sell a lot of Meraki devices a long time ago, and I'm so glad we flipped over to the FortiGates because ease of use, reporting, advanced threat protection, the sandboxing, and actually the cost was considerably more to get less than you get from Forti. So one of the things we did find is that Fortinet, as much as all that stuff probably can bore you to tears, what it means is that you're getting enterprise level protection brought down into an affordable small business package. And that was really our goal, is to bring something that has considerable feature protection on so many levels. When we're talking, web filtering, antivirus, advanced threat protection, intrusion, firewalling, all of that stuff is great. We pile that all into our services, and that's all part of Fortinet's stuff. So we long abandoned Cisco Meraki. I hate to say it. There's some products I really like in Cisco, but the Meraki stuff was just really expensive, and I felt like we got a lot less value out of it than we did from Forti products. Another good thing is we've seen the quality of service, especially using VoIP phone systems, is much better using a FortiGate. So if you have, if you're downloading a whole bunch of things and you're using Dropbox, or you're emailing, your staff are doing all sorts of things, people are VPNing, your phone system might also be using the internet as well. And one of the things that the FortiGate does is regulates bandwidth to the phone system to keep it nice and clear while letting everything else do its thing in your office, from backups, antivirus updates, general work. So that was a huge issue with the Merakis, actually, is the load balancing. So you would get this great protection, however, a bunch of other stuff would suffer because of that. So
nice. Okay, so I have another question. You may have answered it. Have you seen a quality of service issues with VoIP systems when using the Forti?
Yeah, and that was basically, we haven't had any issues with the Forti system, provided it's configured correctly. And oftentimes, people who are inexperienced with, I'm going to call it any advanced firewall, can misconfigure them, and all sorts of problems can happen. So I see another question here. Is it recommended to have Forti devices at my main office and also my remote offices? Absolutely. You need one for each location. And because they are technically considered a separate business, you can link them together. but it's definitely recommended to have one at each location.
Nice. Okay. Again, if there's any other questions, I'll leave my information at the end here, and everybody will get a copy of this this presentation, so you can go back and. But if you know how Consus can help, you know, if there's a free IT assessment we can offer and show you where there's some vulnerabilities. We can develop a plan of attack, essentially, depending on maybe budget restraints or whatever that looks like. We offered, obviously, you know, we touched a lot about this today, layered security packages, solutions, sorry. We brought in enterprise level security solutions down to affordable pricing for small to medium-sized business. And then, you know, we also, when we touched on this on the last webinar, we still will offer free dark web monitoring scans for anybody's domain or personal email addresses. And a lot of our clients have taken this time to train their staff, because the end user is really the biggest liability, I guess. So they've taken this opportunity to train through phishing simulations. So we can offer that as well. So please, if you can, if anybody has some feedback for us on this slide, so what did you like? Was there anything that we didn't spend enough time covering? And again, follow us on our socials. Give us a Google review. We are a local small business, just like everybody else on this call. So please give us a Google review. I've put some of our working partners that we have, from technology to some local businesses that we do partner with as well. So. With that, I'll kind of close off the call, and actually, this will be the next one. Sorry, next webinar. We obviously, you know, with the times in COVID, we've partnered with the Creative Co, who actually manages our marketing content, and Allison Pirani is going to be talking on social media tips for your small business. So I'll also send a link on the next webinar through the recording here today, which is next Thursday at 1 o'clock. So hopefully everyone can join.
Yeah, thanks, Ben, and thank you, Kareem, for coming today. We appreciate your time and
absolutely
taking some time to explain this to some of our clients and prospects. Appreciate it. I hope everybody stays safe. Yeah, stay safe. Hopefully everything opens up again and we're all back in business and life kind of gets back to the new normal, whatever that looks like.